Hey, I'm Johny Chow from Stone Sour, and you are watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi everyone, John Leapman here. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. Coming to you today from the Warwick booth at the 2017 Winter NAMM Show, Anaheim, California, with our good friend Johny Chow. What's happening, Johnny?
How you doing, John? How's everything?
Everything is great. Want to talk about you and Stone Sour and all that good stuff?
Right on.
Let's start from the beginning, because
Okay.
I understand you are from Buffalo.
Buffalo, New York.
Isn't Billy Sheehan from Buffalo?
He sure is.
Okay, so he was like your next door neighbor, probably, right?
Not my next door neighbor, but he was definitely a guy that I knew growing up. Actually, there was this guy, Mike Prisbol, who was the bass player guy. Like, I'm 44 years old. Billy's a little bit older than me. So the big bass player guy in town was this guy, Mike Prisbol. Mike Prisbol took lessons from Billy Sheehan, so he was that style of player. So he was always like the guy in Buffalo.
So you're probably too young to have gone to the Bills games to see O.J. Simpson, or
I was too young to see OJ, but definitely gone to my share of Bills games.
Yeah,
You can't live in Buffalo and not be a Bills fan.
all right. We could talk about that, but I think let's talk about music.
Yeah, man.
How were you first exposed to music, and how did you become a bass player?
Well, first exposed to music, my father loved music as far as opera and classical music. My neighbor, his father was a professor, had gone to Woodstock. He exposed me to like the Stones and the Beatles and Led Zeppelin. So I kind of had a cool little best of both worlds, you know, having grown up with all this classical music and then discovering rock and roll, which is so different than classical music, I guess. It's you know, I mean,
Some of
it's
the
all
progressions,
music.
yeah. Were you able to develop an appreciation and even a liking for some of the opera and the classical music?
You know, not opera as much as classical. Classical, yes. I mean, you know, I remember my father getting me the Star Wars album and just listening to that and looking at this, you know, kick butt album, like, oh my God, and just listening to it all. I mean, oh, that's classical.
John Williams.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. You know, so that was incredible. So yes, I definitely had an appreciation and still do have appreciation for certain classical music.
How about the bass? How did that come into your life?
Well, you know what? I never started out being like, oh, that instrument, oh my God, I want to play that instrument. It was one of those things where a neighbor of mine across the street had a drum set. We had another friend that had his dad's guitar and amp, and I garbage picked a hollow body guitar, like literally on a garbage day. Was walking by, saw this, grabbed it, and it only had the lower four strings on it.
Price was right.
Price was right. Had flat wound strings too, and it was one of those things where the guitarist was like, dude, you're going to be the bass. You just use this as the bass. And he plugged me into the amp. He turned all the treble all off, put the bass all the way up, and he said, just single note everything. Just follow along with me, just single note it. And then from there, it just kind of took off, and, you know, here I am.
So did you find yourself listening to the radio or whatever we were listening to in those days, CDs, differently, and identifying the bass? And
well, I'll tell you what, I one of my favorite bands is Led Zeppelin, and I couldn't recite a single lyric to you, but I could definitely probably hum out and play most of John Paul Jones's bass lines.
What's your favorite JPJ line?
Is my favorite line? Well, I'll tell you what, my favorite Zeppelin song is Achilles' Last Stand.
Okay.
Great. I mean, it's just so aggressive, and to me, that was his almost like. His playing is not as aggressive as the whole song itself is. And that's what's cool about JPJ, is that he approaches things much differently than a lot of other musicians or bass players for that matter.
I noticed about you that your influences all seem to be the British rock icons. John Paul Jones, John Entwistle, Chris Squire.
Well, Chris Squire. To me, Chris Squire was the first bass player that I heard his tone and the way he played and the tone he gets from his fingers out of that Rick, because I've heard other people play Ricks, did not sound like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was just like, it spoke to me, and it's one of those things where I don't know, man. Those guys they're the best, man. Entwistle, you listen to Who album, it does not do him justice. You have to see that guy playing live when all of these fingers are all moving. He's just sitting there.
Did you ever get to see him play live?
You know what? I never got to see him play live. I did get to see The Who was one of my favorite bands growing up. So I was able, when HBO first started out, they did this concert they did a broadcast of the Who playing live.
Broadcast of the Lou?
Yeah, the Lou. Yeah. Everybody taking shits everywhere. Oh, sorry.
That's what cable TV, right?
Yeah. No, but it was pretty cool to be able. That was my first concert, so to say, is watching that. And then eventually my real first concert. I was a kid that grew up on punk rock and hardcore music, and my first show was at a Painters Hall to see, might have been 7 Seconds, I think. So it's pretty cool, man, and seeing that made me realize, wait a minute, this dude is sitting here sweating on me and hanging out afterwards, talking and hanging, so many of my friends oh, my first concert was AC/DC at the Memorial Auditorium. And I'm like, there's, to me, seeing a concert like that for the first time, there's nothing more separating. Whoa, I'm never going to be able to do that. That's like a rock star. But I actually was at the show, being I could do this, man. These guys are all just hanging out. It seemed attainable. It seemed, I don't know, it was a place where I went with music, and it just, from there you meet so many people, you start jamming and starting bands, and it's kind of how it started.
How did the Stone Sour gig come about?
Stone Sour came about, I'm good friends with Roy Mayorga. I've known him from when we both lived in New York City. And I also was in a band called Systematic that was Lecture Records band. We toured with Stone Sour, I think, on their very first album cycle. And I stayed friends with some of the guys in the band. I was playing with a band called Cavalera Conspiracy, which is Max Cavalera from Sepultura. And he's also got Soulfly. And I knew Soulfly was about to drop an album, so I'd have some time off. So I called a friend of mine, this guy Blasco, who plays bass for Ozzy.
I've interviewed Blasco.
Yeah, Blasco, great guy.
I know him.
Great guy, yeah. And he's had management companies and stuff in the past. He's got his ear to the ground all the time. So hey, dude, just listen. You hear of anything, let me know, man. And he's like, well, hang up the phone with me right now and give Roy a call, because Stone Sour is looking for a bass player. And they had just gotten done recording the album with Rachel Bolan from Skid Row. And he did a kick-ass job on it. I was just, the day too late, dollar too shy kind of thing, So I came in and I toured that whole last album cycle out, and they invited me to be a band member, and I can now say it's my band, so to say. It's not just a paid gig thing. So
good for you. Good choice. By the way, Blasco, I think, told me he was a sales clerk in a clothing store before he got the gig with Ozzy.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean, we all work. We all have jobs. I mean, man, I'll tell you what, man. When I know I have a lot of time off, I've been in the service industry forever. I opened bars and ran bars for years, and it's just one of those things where it's just everybody's got to pay the bills, man. It's funny, I'll be off tour or something like that, and I bartend at this live music venue back home. Decent size, like Mastodon and Anthrax, Testament. They'll be playing there, and be behind the bar. Some kid calling me, dude, aren't you Johny Chow? Don't you play in Stone Sour? I'm like, yeah. What the hell are you doing behind the bar? I'm like, man, paying the bills, man.
Wow.
We all got to do it. So
we are sitting here in the Warwick booth. You play a Warwick bass. You've been playing Warwick for a few years already, I think. Tell me why Warwick?
Well, Warwick makes a great bass. I had been with ESP for years. ESP to me is a guitar company they'll also make some basses. I did Music Messy in Frankfurt for Seymour Duncan pickups. And when I was out there, Warwick in Europe distributes Seymour Duncan. So I got to know the Warwick guy, because he was the encompassing. We had a little, Seymour Duncan had a little area within the Warwick, Framus and Warwick booth there.
I've been to Music Messy.
Yeah. So I got to know.
It's like this, but
it's crazy. But it's one of those things where at the time it was this guy Chris Kunitz, who was their artist relations guy, and day 3 he's like, so why haven't you asked me to join up with Warwick? I'm like, because you guys make incredible instruments, and I don't know, you have Stu Ham, you have, all these people, like these big guys. I'm like, I never thought that I'd be able to be a part of that. And he said, oh, dude, come on, man, this is great. He's like, would you want it? I was like, yes, I would love to, man. I'm not with ESB anymore, so yes, I would love to. So that's how it kind of started. I love the basses, man. I mean,
tell me about you. Which model do you play?
So right now I've got, I play my own custom, which is the Streamer Stage 2. With the JP setup, and it's Afsalia and Babenga. It's a neck through. It's heavy as shit, but so is the tone that comes out of it. And
you ever held Jonas Hellborg's Warwick Bass? It weighs, I think, 40 pounds.
I think the neck is like that big alone. You know what
I don't know how he does it or why.
Yeah, the older I get, I like the lighter basses. Trust me, let me tell you. So,
what about other things like amps and strings?
I'm with Eden Amps. Paul Marshall is probably one of the coolest people in the world. He was Stone Sour was doing. We did 2 nights at the Brixton Academy, sold out, and he came out to one of them, and he was asking me who I was with, and at the time I wasn't with anyone, and I just left another company who I don't want to say, and we weren't using amps on stage. It was set cards.
Yeah.
And I actually had Paul say to me, he's like, dude, well, we just acquired Eden. What would it take to get you to come over to Eden? I said, well, we really don't have our amps on stage right now. I couldn't be a really big help for you or anything like that. And he said, well, what would you really want? I said, do you make wedges? And he said, no, we don't make wedges. I said, oh, okay, man, because I would really love to have 2 10-inch speakers like they have in the 810 refrigerator cabinets. 2 10-inch speakers with the horn in there, man, to really scream at me and feel it, because we don't have anything on stage. I'm on in-ears, so I'm missing that rumble and that bass. He said, yeah, we don't do that. I'm like, oh, okay, we exchanged information either way, and it's like months and months later, I was off tour, I'm sitting at house, and then ding dong, UPS delivery. I'm like, what's this 2 big Eden boxes? And sure enough, I pull out these awesome wedges, man, that Eden made. And I contacted Paul. I said, Paul, what the hell? I thought you didn't make these. He's like, we don't make them, but we made them for you. Wow. And I was like, well, obviously you have yourself a new artist on board with you. Thank you. So that's how Eden sparked up, which is really cool of them.
That doesn't happen every day.
No, it does not, man.
How about the future? You have a new record in the works, I think?
Yes, we do. We're currently in the studio right now with Stone Sour. We've got 9 songs out of 18 already done. We're on like day 10 or 11. It's crazy because we've just been moving so well and so proficiently. We're recording everything live, and we're not recording to a click either. So we're really trying to take it back to the old school way of recording, which is really awesome because I feel like I really get to play to the part again. A lot of times when you're recording, you play to the song, meaning like, oh, this song it's all on a grid. It's all clicked out with Pro Tools. Yeah. And, it is what it is. You either a little bit behind it or right with it or whatever. But this time, without it, this gives that a lot of that push and pull that JPJ and John Bonham used to have.
My favorite rock drummer.
Yeah, oh, God, man. And I play Roy Mayorga's the drummer of the band. It's just like...
Is there a title for the record yet?
There is, but I'm not at liberty to say what it is yet.
Okay. How about a rough release date?
We're hoping sometime in June is what we're thinking. We've got some shows coming up. Starting in May, we're doing the Chicago Open Air. We're doing Rocklahoma. I think there's another one. Is it Rock? It's the one in Caudette, Wisconsin.
Okay.
But we're...
How about Detroit?
Detroit, we'll be back there soon enough.
Okay.
Is that where you're from? Yeah?
Yeah, we'll come see you.
Awesome, absolutely, for sure.
Well, great.
So you know Meltdown?
Meltdown? Oh, yeah, the radio announcer.
Yeah.
I've met him.
Meltdown has some, like where I'm in Buffalo, he's either him or his wife have family in the Buffalo area. So whenever he comes to town, we always go out for a beer.
Cool.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Last question.
Yes.
What would you be if you weren't a bass player? Something outside of music.
Something that I actually love doing and I've been kind of doing is I'd probably open a couple bars, restaurants. I enjoy it. I like entertaining. I don't go out. I have my friends come and see me when I'm behind the bar. That's my going out.
There will always be a demand for that,
Everybody wants alcohol. Everybody needs to eat too.
That's right. All right. Well, congratulations on the new record. We'll all look forward to it.
I appreciate that.
When you can tell us more. We'll share it with all these people.
I will for sure.
And much luck, continued success to you. It's a great story.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate that.
Keep on doing it. Keep on rocking.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man.
With our good friend Johny Chow at the Warwick booth at the 2017 Winter NAMM Show, Anaheim, California. I'm John Liepman. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.